I always had the opinion that Bellarmine did everything right.
Recruiting, and more recruiting.
Well, I don't really care what my time is. And they're like, okay, so like, what do you think you're going to go? I said, faster than you.
Listen, this is what you do. This is what day it is. This is everything else that happens during the Derby.
The next pitch I saw, I hit a no-doubter, and that just set the tone for the little tournament, and we freaking ran through that thing. I love telling that story.
I don't think I'll find anything like this ever again.
Welcome to another episode of the Knights of the Roundtable podcast. Such a great time of year with basketball in full swing. We're in the holiday season. There's plenty to talk about. I'm Jack Kaiser, and as always, make sure to follow us on social media platforms to find the links and clips to all our episodes. Just search at BU Knights. So today, we have a Bellarmine newbie on the podcast, but she knows Louisville quite well. She went to Male High School here in town and spent her first few years at Belmont. Now she's with the Knights and starting at forward for the women's basketball team. We're joined today by Cam Browning. Cam, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. So it's year one for you at Bellarmine. We just walked around Knights Hall. It's kind of hard to navigate. You're finding your way around campus right now. And I'm guessing since you're from here that you actually knew quite a few people that went to Bellarmine, right?
Yes, I did.
Okay. So Bellarmine was on your radar before you actually came here.
Yes. It was always like we would have tournaments here and games here all the time. And so I'd always knew where it was. I have like high school friends that wanted to go here and that still go here now. So it was always kind of like a smaller version if I were to need a smaller version than like U of L or UK, something like that, which I do like. It's cool having as many schools as we have in town, but still it doesn't feel as small as it is when you're actually here, which I like.
Did that help with the transition, you actually knowing about it before?
Absolutely. I was comfortable from like day one. I was never felt awkward. I never really got lost. I've always known the coaches since I was in like middle school, just being around. So I think that helped the transition tremendously, which was a big reason why I wanted to come home.
Yeah, You've been home for like several months now. How's that been, actually being close to family?
I love it. It's great. I get to see them when I need to see them, but at the same time, I still have my space a little bit, which is nice. I'm really excited for home games to start and like our scrimmages. My parents got to come. My family's going to get to come to all the games now and not have to worry about travel or those kinds of things. So I'm super excited. I love it. I love being home.
So along with your parents, how much family do you have in town?
Yeah, so my parents, and then I have 2 sets of grandparents that are here. I have a younger sister that's here, and then I have a plethora of cousins, uncles, that kind of a thing, which is really cool because, I'll see them and they'll be like, oh, I can't wait to come to actually come to a game. Like, don't have to drive all the way to Nashville now. They can just come right up the street. And especially with it being at Freedom Hall, like my older family members really enjoy that because, they grew up going to those U of L games there and now getting to see me there or something. I think they're really excited for it, and I am too. Yeah,
the nostalgia of the place is a real benefit. But you mentioned the family here, and for a lot of college basketball players, holidays are like one of the few times they can actually go back and see family. Now, of course, you guys were gone for Thanksgiving in Cleveland, so you didn't get that. But I feel like since you're back home, it's almost being back home like subs in for the fact that you didn't get to see them at Thanksgiving.
Right, exactly. Of course I called them. I still talk to my parents every single day. Even when I was in Nashville, I called my dad every day, and I still do to this day after practice or those kinds of things.
Yeah.
But even though I wasn't home, it's nice to still come back home. I know some of my teammates haven't been able to go home for a while because of the distance, but I was home the other night. I just kind of go there, hang out for a little bit, and then come back. Like, even though I didn't get Thanksgiving here, like, my mom still had Thanksgiving food waiting for me. Like, even though it wasn't on the day, it's nice that I still get to do those little things with them kind of throughout the week whenever I can.
Do you do your laundry back at your parents' house?
I will admit, yes.
Yes.
My mom offers, and, I'm not going to say no to having somebody else do something for me. So I really appreciate that part, too.
Hey. Do you live in a dorm?
Yes.
Okay. When I lived in a dorm at college, I was guilty of the exact same thing. Like, there's something about doing it at your parents' house and not in the mass, washroom,
Exactly. There's something about walking in, setting it down, doing your thing, a couple hours later, and it's folded. She always folds it for me. Stuff's on hangers. I'm like, this is great.
you like to think you're transitioning to adulthood, and you really are, but there's certain things that you're like, it's kind of nice to fall back and just be a kid.
Right, it is. It's nice to always have your parents there and to have them close. I missed them so much when I was gone. When you're 17, 18, committing, thinking, I want to go live in a different city, I want to get away from home. It's like, it's going to be great. And then you get sick the first time, and then you missed your first holiday, and then you have your first bad practice, and you're like, man, like I could really use my parents right now.
Yeah.
And they'll always be there, which I'm excited, which is, again, I'm so happy to be home. I know I keep saying it, but I really do love it.
Well, everyone here is happy that you are here, including them. And I was wondering what, along with the family aspect, convinced you to come here?
Gosh, I keep saying it, I love being home. I really was excited to play other people at a different level. At Belmont, my role wasn't what it is here. It was more of just, go in, give people a break, do your thing, which I am grateful for that experience. I learned so much, but I kind of missed, having a role, having a job, like having kind of different expectations to live up to challenge myself. Because I feel like that's when I work best, is when I have people saying, you should be doing this, you should do it this way, because we know you can. So let's see you actually do it, and not just, okay, if you do good job, whatever. But now it's kind of like, okay, I kind of wanted to prove to myself that I could still play basketball. There was a time when I was away where I lost a lot of confidence. I wasn't feeling with myself. I was kind of done with basketball. And then I realized that when it was time for me to leave, I would get the chance to come home. I would get the chance to play, and I would kind of feel like myself again when I got to play again.
Right. And there's something to pushing yourself, and it feels like that's part of the reason you came here, to take on a bigger role. And that's what, realistically, everybody wants that, right? You want the responsibility. You want to play as much as you can, to score, rebound, whatever, and that's what you're able to do now. And you're trying to help this program build, too, in the early stages of D1. At Belmont, you were part of a team that went to multiple NCAA tournaments.
Exactly.
What was that experience like?
It was surreal. It was kind of like, okay, you grow up hearing about March Madness. You grow up like seeing all these teams do these crazy things, play these big name schools. Then it's like, oh snap! I look up and it's like, wait, I'm doing that. Like I did that. It was a lot. It was overwhelming. It didn't seem real in the moment. And now looking back, I think lessons I learned from that, from playing those big schools, from advancing as far as we did in the tournament a couple times, that like I can bring those things back here to kind of, since we are new Division I in that transitional period, to kind of elevate the program while I can here, so that a way, girls that decide to come here in the future can kind of realize, oh, like Bellarmine's a legitimate Division I program, like not a low school, not people are going to stop pronouncing the name wrong. It's going to become like a good mid-major over time. And I think that my experience at Belmont and all of the places I got to go and people I got to see and compete against will only help next year kind of lift us up to that level that I know we could be at.
Right. You're already starting to lay the foundation early in the season. And you've mentioned before that you love contact. Cam Browning joins us on KRT. You don't mind playing a physical game on the inside. How did you develop that mindset?
I do not know, and that's always been my thing. I won't back down from anybody. I don't care how big you are, how fast you are. I'm right there with you. I think that's part of the reason that I love basketball, is because you get to have that contact. You're not shying away. You can't, avoid other people. Like at the end of the day, it's going to kind of be who's tougher. And I think, like, my dad coached me my entire life since I was like 4. And I played with the boys. There wasn't a girls team I was just thrown on. I played with the boys. So that was kind of what was normal for me. They weren't nicer to me just because I was a girl, so I wasn't going to back down to them. But I think it's fun. I really do. It makes it a little interesting. Now, there was a phase in time when I did let it get a little out of hand. I have matured out of that, luckily. But I love it. It's something you can't do in all sports, which I really appreciate.
All right, now I got to ask, what phase of life was it out of hand?
Oh man, my freshman year of high school, I was not nice. I was not nice. I used to get technicals left and right. It was just, I had no fear. I didn't. The refs didn't scare me. My coaches didn't scare me. None of the girls scared me. I thought I could get away with anything. And that obviously did not work out well for me during some points. But like my whole high school team was like that, you know.
Yeah.
I started playing in the 8th grade for my high school team. And so those juniors and seniors took nothing lightly on me. Like, they knew that I could handle it, and so they made sure that, like, I could experience that stuff in practice. And so by the time I was a freshman, I thought I could do anything. You know, I could plow over anybody at any time, especially when, you know, I'm still trying to get used to my body at that age and realizing, okay, like, I am a bit bigger. Like, I can move around people. Instead of through people. I really had to learn that you don't have to hit them every time. And you can't do it when the ref is looking at you. I had to learn that one the hard way a couple times.
Yeah.
But I love it. It's fun.
So you got the technicals because of the way you played physically, not necessarily the talk?
Oh, don't get me wrong. I still love to talk. I do. Sometimes I can probably talk a little too much, but it's become more of a whisper.
Yeah.
You can't you can't let the refs hear it anymore. You definitely can't let the coaches hear it anymore.
Right.
But every now and then there are some sly remarks coming out of my mouth.
You still have that that natural desire for it, but you're learning how to use it.
Exactly. I'm learning how to contain it and use it smartly.
Yeah.
Because I can't go around getting technicals all the time anymore. I'm a little too old for that now, I think.
No, it makes sense. I don't think you have a technical foul this year, so you're good.
I have one intentional, and I am still questioning that.
Yes.
That one is still a question mark in my mind. I don't think it was.
That was against Cleveland State, right?
It was Fort Wayne. They say I hit her. They say I hit her intentionally.
It was Purdue Fort Wayne.
And it was not intentional. She was just in my way, and
You were
I stand
turning.
by it. Exactly. I was just trying to rip the ball through. I just wanted to pass it. That was all.
Interesting
and I stand
call.
by it. And I
Yeah.
stand by it.
You're fine now. It's all good. Was it just basketball for you growing up? Were there other sports?
No, it was strictly basketball.
Okay.
So my dad worked at the Jewish Community Center when I was younger, and he was like the athletic director, where he did all the camps, all the sports, any sort of recreation event that went on was like kind of his domain. And I remember his office was in the gym. And so I would just sit in there and, hang out, and then I'd just take a ball and go throw it at the rim.
Yeah.
I'd go back and play on the computer for a little bit, and then go out and then play. And then after that, he started working at Basketball Academy, which is no longer Basketball Academy. But it was 5 courts, a couple offices, and it was like a playground for me. I could do anything I wanted. I was there all the time, every single day just about. And I never really... There was a time when I wanted to play volleyball just because I wanted to try something else. But he was like, no, like, you're going to play basketball and you're going to be good. He played. My mom played. We knew I was going to be tall. We knew I was physical. Again, I have a younger sister, so
Yeah.
they saw that part coming too. And, it was always my thing. I didn't like outside very much. I wasn't an outside sport kind of a girl. I played soccer for like a season. I just sat there and played in the grass the whole time. I didn't like the running up and down part of it.
No scoring either.
No, exactly. What's a 1-0? That's boring.
Hey, we love our night soccer teams, but there's just not much scoring, unfortunately.
Yes, exactly. So it has been. I mean, I literally started playing when I was 4.
Okay.
I just turned 22, so it's a while, but
yeah.
I do love it. And there was especially early college, I was like, as soon as I'm done with college, I'm done with basketball, like for good. No more. I've put my time in. And now that it's kind of coming to those last couple years, I'm realizing, what is my life going to be without this? Like, this is all I know. And I actually do love it again, which is something that Bellarmine has reminded me of constantly, that I do love basketball, even when it's hard and frustrating and things don't always go our way. Like, this is my life, and I do really enjoy it. So
yeah,
feels like I'm used to.
Feels like that's the most important thing.
Yes, it is. It always has been.
So, kind of getting in the weeds here, you're a great rebounder, and you've shown that recently. How much of rebounding is effort versus strategy?
I would say it's almost 50-50, depending on who it is. If it's somebody that's significantly bigger than you, then you're going to have to know you have to get lower than her, you have to push her out, and you have to get the ball first. And that's kind of the strategy behind it. But if it's somebody that matches up pretty equally, it's going to kind of be who's going to work harder for it, which is, I think, why I do love rebounding so much, is because I want to show you that I'm going to work harder than you. You know, I'm going to be the one that gets it in the end because I'm a little bit tougher. I'm going to hit a little bit harder, and I want the ball. And so it's going to be mine. I kind of think I want to one-up them. You know, I want it. That's my ball.
Yeah.
And so, in a way, I would say there's a lot of effort, but also a lot of strategy too, just because you have to know what their strength is. If you know that they can jump higher than you, don't try to out-jump them, which a lot of people can out-jump me. I've accepted it. Jumping is not my thing, but I can push them out.
Right.
If you can move them a little bit, you can still get it.
Okay. Well, you've been doing it well recently. I think over your last 3 games, all in Cleveland, you're averaging 12 points a game and 8 rebounds a game. So along with starting those games, why do you think you've been able to kick it in gear recently?
I think I'm realizing that it's that time. You know, we're not practicing all day every day. We're not exhausted from practice all the time. It's game time. It's time to finally play other people and see what other people have to offer. See how we match up against other people. You know, I hadn't played a lot in the past. It wasn't my role. So now that I'm finally getting that chance again to go show what I can do and show the type of player I am, I want to take it and I want to run with it. I want to do what I know I can do, which is most of the time go grab the ball.
Yeah, that's why you came here.
Yes.
So watching you guys play this season, it feels like you've been close, really close, a couple of times. Does it feel that way for you?
Absolutely. It's like it's right there. And you can almost take it down to 2 or 3 possessions to where it's like, man, if that would have went our way, the whole game would have been different. Or if that one call wouldn't have been made, or, you know, one less turnover, I feel like right now we're kind of getting stuck in when one thing goes wrong, we kind of let that dictate the next couple possessions. But I think if we can realize that, hey, there's going to be another possession in 30 seconds, make it better than the last kind of a situation, then I think that would help us kind of get over that hump. Because in basketball, like, both teams are going to score. Both teams are going to do good things, but at the end of the day, it's like who gets that last one? Who can have more of them? And I feel like if we can stop letting those little mistakes kind of stick around in our heads a little less than they are, I think that would really get us over this struggle we're having.
Yeah. Well, something else that'll help is you finally get to play at home. You've been on the road for a long time,
So
6
long.
straight. And you mentioned Freedom Hall and the nostalgia for your family, and just playing at home is so different because you get to sleep in your own bed.
Yes.
You get to practice, you know, on a regular schedule, and everything just seems to be a little bit easier. And I think people don't take that into account all the time.
Definitely. Like, I think back to the LSU trip. It was a long trip, a lot of time in the airport, a lot of time in the bus, a lot of time in the hotel. So when you have all of that free time, it's just kind of, you're sitting around and there are days where, like, man, like, it doesn't feel like we have a game today.
Yeah.
But then when you're at home, you wake up and you're like, okay, I'm going to go to nights. I'm going to go to Freedom where I'm used to. I'm going to, you know, not have to sit on the bus for an hour, 2 hours just to get there. I'm going to get in the car, I'm going to drive over there, and then I'm going to get ready, and it's going to be, you know, a place that we get to experience all the time. It's going to be a gym that we feel comfortable in, which I think will really help us. We haven't had a lot of experience in Freedom yet.
Yeah.
One exhibition game doesn't really give us that feel. So, like, getting used to the lights this past couple of weeks when we practice there, those kinds of little things, I think, are what make home games so much better.
Did you like it when you played there in the exhibition?
I did. I really did. It was my first time actually playing in Freedom. We had there had been like AAU games here, but none of my games were ever in there. It's like, it's so cool thinking that a place that I've seen my entire, I graduated there, like my high school graduation was there. So I'm looking around and I'm like, this is crazy. Like, there is a basketball court in here. Parking in the backside was like mind-boggling to me, because I'm like, I don't have to go in the main gate. Like, I can just walk in this little side door. Like, I didn't know this even existed, and I've lived here my whole life. So I'm really excited about Freedom Hall. It was another big reason why I wanted to come here. I wanted to experience something like that.
Yeah, it's a big recruiting tool.
It is.
And we're glad that it helped recruit you here. So with this being your first year, you've learned a new system on offense, defense, and everything that comes with that. But basketball, from a different perspective too, it can be pretty simple also. I'm curious, like, what's the most complex thing that you do on a basketball court, whether that's an offensive play, defensive rotation? What's the most complex thing you have to deal with?
I think for me personally, it's post defense sometimes, because you really have to scout and look at that individual player, which shoulder they like to go to, what counter move do they like to make, can they post up on both sides, do you want to send them a certain way or the other way, are they actually going to try to rebound, or are they just going to kind of leak out a little bit? So I think that for me, that's what I know the most, is kind of how to work around the post, especially defensively. And even offensively, you have to think like, okay, if she jumps to my left shoulder and then I'm stuck on my right, what's my counter going to be to that? Or if they push me off too far, what's my first move going to be? Who's going to be the next person open, kind of a situation? Because, being a big, you don't necessarily facilitate a lot, but I think that's something that I like to do, because when the ball goes inside, if people collapse, there's people open. And that's something that you really have to look for. And I think over time is something you kind of get used to. It's definitely something I'm still getting used to with like this team and these girls, just learning where people like the ball, learning which way we like to drive, and, who's going to do what all the time. It's a big learning curve, adjusting to new people. But I really don't know. I've done it so long. It all just seems so easy. I will say, like, especially with like Coach Dugan's big on defense.
Yeah.
We're playing defense. She doesn't care about anything else. She's making sure we're working our tails off on defense. And so like our rotations here are a little different than what I'm used to in the past. But, I'm picking up on them.
Yeah.
That's really all.
Yeah, I was curious. So it seems like those hypotheticals and those scenarios you just described are maybe a little bit more complex than actually figuring out, okay, this offensive set, I'm going here.
Exactly. It's like I can get from point A to point B, but then it's like, okay, what happens when you get the ball there?
Yeah.
What are you going to do then? Or how are you going to guard the girl? We can know whatever play the other team's going to run. We can scout them, know that one girl is going to go from this side to this side, but what does she like to do? How does she react when we stop her? Those kinds of things.
Okay. That's interesting. Good answer. So on the way over here, we were talking about your class. You just got done with criminal justice class, and you're an integrated studies major, right?
Yes.
What is that?
It's okay. So it's basically a major geared towards electives, in simple terms. So when I transferred, like I said, I was an education major. I want to be a teacher. At the end of the day, that's what I want to do. But when I transferred, all of my credits, for the most part, transferred as electives, which luckily fit into the integrated studies major, basically saying you're going to take a little bit in everything. You're going to take a little bit of bio. You're going to take a little bit of criminal justice. You're going to do a little social science, a little human, like everything, just to kind of be a well-rounded learner. Like Belmont was a liberal arts school, so we kind of had to do the same thing there just to meet like graduation requirements. So having the integrated studies major was, again, really lucky for me, because I'm still able to, I'm also getting my master's in teaching at the same time. We have an early entry program.
Okay.
Which, again, so lucky. I really dodged a bullet with that one. But like I had to take my senior capstone for integrated studies. And he's like, how has this program impacted you? And I'm like, sir, I don't know. Like, I've only been in it for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
I didn't know what integrated studies was, but especially since I want to teach, I think it's something that I'm now really grateful for, because I've learned more of the importance of why you should take classes in little things, like why you can take a piece from here and a piece from here and apply it to something else, and which is what I think I could do a lot, especially in the classroom. So
Right. So do you know what level you want to teach at?
Elementary.
Okay. Well, that makes sense with the integrated studies, because that's where you have to teach the kids about all these different subjects.
Exactly. My target grade would be 2nd and 3rd.
Okay.
Cam does not like kindergartners. I learned that the hard way.
5th graders can be mean too.
5th graders can, but they're at that age to where hopefully they realize, like, okay, like I'm almost done with elementary school.
Yeah.
Like, I have to enjoy this while I can.
Right.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love kids. I love teaching. I love elementary especially. that's when I'm my most relaxed
Yeah.
surprisingly.
Hey, we need those people in the world, so we're happy that that's what you're going into.
Yes.
Personally, I couldn't do it.
Yes.
But I think we can all learn from you. So you have 2 years of eligibility left,
Yes.
right? How many years exactly were you at Belmont? 3?
2.5.
2.5.
2.5. I
Okay.
left January of my junior year.
Right.
Technically, yes.
Okay, gotcha. So you'll use these last 2 years of eligibility, finish up, get your master's
Yes.
in teaching, early entry, and then integrated studies.
Yes.
Okay. Glad we summed that all up correctly.
It's a lot. Especially like my grandparents didn't understand what the integrated. They still thought I was an education major because that's kind of what I like. Yeah, I'm still doing education, but online when it says integrated studies, when they posted that, my Nana called me and she was like, "What's an integrated studies major? I thought you were an education major." I'm like, "I am. I'm just doing it. There's another route I have now had to go, and so it's been different. But again, I'm grateful that in the end, it's all going to work out well. I'm gonna get my master's now, which I never planned on doing.
Yeah.
So it worked out.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Well, last question for you. Simmons College tomorrow. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Simmons College of Kentucky. Can you give us a little preview of that game?
They're gonna play hard, and they're excited. They're excited for this game. We know what we have to do, and as long as we play like we should play, and we run our stuff how we should run our stuff, I think it'll be hard for a lot of teams to play with us if we worry about ourselves at most. They're going to play hard. They're real hyped up for this game, which I personally like. Like, I hope they're excited because that then they're going to come out and they're going to give us their best shot. But when we come out, we're going to give them our better shot.
Yeah, you're all about the competition,
Yes.
so you're hoping it's real competitive tomorrow.
I am, definitely.
Awesome. Well, Cam, this was awesome. Thank you so much for the time today.
Thank you, too.
Cam Browning on KRT. Women's basketball takes on Simmons College of Kentucky at 6:30 on Thursday, December 1st. You can watch it on ESPN Plus if you cannot join us at Freedom Hall. Make sure to come out and watch your Knights. That does it for KRT episode 24. Subscribe to our YouTube page. Follow us on social media at BU Knights to hear from Cam and all of our other guests. I'm Jack Kaiser, and Swords Up.